So, hey there, beautiful people. Thank you for joining us today on the third day of our Insta Live session on how to manage our anxieties. I am Dr. Swati Kedia, your Vaisa buddy. Some of you have been with us since the last 2 days, some of you may have joined today. So, I'll just run a quick recap of what we have done in the last 2 days. So we started this live Insta series on Monday and we talked about what is anxiety, how it manifests itself, and we learned a meditation exercise to deal with the physiological or the bodily symptoms of anxiety. Yesterday we moved towards the behavioral aspects of, for example, how can I stop my worrying by creating something called a worry box. I can write the thoughts that worry me and come back to it at a later point of time. And we also learned how to do time management so that we can achieve more in as much time as we have. Now these are some things which will help you in general being less anxious. But what do we do when we are feeling anxious, when we have anxious thoughts? So today's session, we'll basically be focusing upon how to identify those anxiety thoughts, what are the kind of thinking errors we make when we are anxious, and what to do about it, right? Before I start the session, a few things. I'll be telling you about the technique, and then we can take up the question answer session after once I've finished. The question answer can be for this session, it can be for the last 2 sessions. I'll be glad to take any questions that you have. So coming back to today's discussion, I read a very nice quote which said that the ancestor of all our actions are thoughts, which basically means what happens is that our thoughts, our emotions and our behaviors are very intrinsically linked. How I think affects how I feel. That affects what I do or what I don't do. And that again affects how I think about it. Right? Let's take an example. Like, for example, remember the last time you went into a meeting or an examination hall or an interview where the thought was that I have prepared really well and I am going to nail this presentation today. They are going to love my idea, or I am going to really do well. So you enter the meeting with that thought, and what happens? You're confident, it shows in your body language, you end up actually giving a very good presentation or the interview. You are able to answer questions coherently, your mind is clear, and you actually nail it. Now imagine another scenario. You enter the meeting or you enter the examination hall or the interview room with a continuous thought process of I am going to fail, I am not going to do well, people are going to laugh at me, everybody will think I am a joker or I am stupid. Now, with these kind of self-feeding statements, what happens? Your heart is pumping faster, you're feeling jittery and restless, you feel very anxious and fearful from inside. That reflects on your body language. You're not able to do the presentation properly, you're not able to answer the questions properly, and because you're so fearful, you're focused on each and every person's reaction and probably trying to understand what they might be thinking about you. Oh, that person checked his phone, he must be bored with what I'm saying. That person just smiled in a very sheepish kind of a way, I must have embarrassed myself in some manner or the other. So I'm constantly on a lookout for negative signals, which further makes me more and more anxious. All my plans go out the window, all my arguments go out the window, and I actually end up doing badly. And then I say, see, I said I am stupid, I am going to do badly, and this is what has happened. So let's understand, let's identify these little buggers which pull us down. These are our thoughts. before I go on to the thinking errors, we often hear this saying, you are what you think. I beg to differ here a bit. I am not what I think. Thinking does not define me. Thinking does not make me who I am. But thinking can influence how I feel and how I act. So therefore, it is important for me to say that can I understand my negative thinking and can I challenge it, right? So before we move on to the challenging part, we need to understand some of the thinking errors that a person with anxiety makes. One of the most common error in thinking is overestimating the likelihood of something negative happening. So for example, if I start a project or if I start a work, my first thought will be, what if it goes wrong? What if it doesn't work out the way I want, right? Another thinking error the person with anxiety can make is prediction of situations. So, and the prediction is always negative. So, जिसको हम कहते हैं राई का पहाड़ बना देना. So, I kind of think the worst possible outcome in any given situation. So, I sit for an exam, I know I'm going to fail. I go for an interview, I know I will not be selected for it. So, I think the worst possible outcome in a situation. Then something called mind reading. So we all do that. Like for example, when I'm talking to you, I might have this thought in my mind that what you must be thinking about me, or are you liking me or not? How are you judging me? But a person who has anxiety, what will their thinking be? He must be thinking that I am a fool. She doesn't like me. She doesn't really think that I am worth her time. So I am predicting the other person's thought patterns by their body language or because of my own mood, and I'm predicting it in a negative manner. So one, overestimating the risk of negative things happening, catastrophization, mind reading. The fourth kind of thinking error a person with anxiety makes is something called personalization. So which is that whatever wrong is happening must be because of me. So my partner is upset, I must have done something wrong. Somebody else, in a team challenge, you lose. It's my mistake, it's my fault that everybody has lost. So I blame myself for it and I feel responsible for everybody's happiness and everybody's success. The fifth kind of thinking error we make is magnification. So imagine using a magnifying glass to see all your faults. So I make a small mistake and I say, my God, who does something like this? I never, I am not worth anything or I am not competent enough. Who makes a mistake like this? But if the other person does it, you say, हाँ हो जाती है, happens, mistakes happen. So you minimize the other person's mistakes and you magnify all your negative points. Then there is something called jumping to conclusion. So for example, I called a friend who didn't pick up and my first thought is, he doesn't care about me. So what I do is I basically jump to conclusion based on what the other person's reaction in one situation was, and I make it something which is applicable to the entire situation. Then there is something called shoulds and musts. So I should always be strong. I should never show my weakness to anybody. If I show my weakness to other people, then they will take advantage of me, right? So basically, let me just summarize the thinking errors that a person with anxiety would make. Overestimating the risk of negative events happening, catastrophization, mind reading, personalization, magnification, jumping to conclusions, and shoulds and musts, right? Please understand that all of us make these kind of thinking errors from time to time, and they do make us anxious. But when they become a repetitive pattern in your thinking, that's when it starts causing more and more problems. So let's understand how we can deal with these thoughts. So first thing, before we change anything, we need to identify them. Many times what happens is a situation is there, we react in a particular way, but we don't know what actually went inside my head. So for example, I have to submit a report tomorrow and I'm feeling anxious about it. Or I have to go to a wedding tomorrow and I'm feeling sad about it, right? So it's like I'm feeling like this, but why am I feeling like this? What is it in the situation that's making me anxious? So to identify your thoughts, you need to do some bit of self-monitoring. A situation will make you react in a particular way because you have interpreted the situation in that particular way. The same situation can make you feel happy, the same situation can make you feel sad, the same situation can make you feel anxious. So the first thing is to ask myself, what is it about this situation that is making me anxious? So my boss gives me a new project to do, and my thought is that it's a wonderful opportunity to learn something new. I will not be anxious. But my first thought is, oh my God, what if I mess up? What will my boss think of me? Then I will be anxious. So the first step is self-monitoring of thoughts. What situation made you anxious? And what was it about the situation that made you anxious? What were you thinking at that point of time? What was going on in your head? So once you've identified those thoughts, which can be, I will fail, I will never be able to deliver the required product on time, I am a stupid person, I am incompetent, people are going to laugh at me, I will definitely screw this up. Identify that thought. The second step in challenging your thought is something we call finding of evidence. So you became the detective where you found what your thoughts were. Now play the lawyer. Ask yourself, am I thinking rationally? So when I say that I'm going to screw this up, when I say that he or she is going to hate me or nobody loves me, I am not a lovable person, am I thinking rationally? Do I have evidence to support this thought? If not, then what kind of a thinking error am I making? Am I catastrophizing? Am I mind reading? Am I magnifying my errors? Am I thinking in a black and white kind of a manner where I say I should be doing something like this, right? So what kind of a thinking error am I making? If my thought is rational, so for example, a person is constantly ignoring you and you found the thought to be rational that he doesn't love me anymore, then you ask yourself, what can I do about it? What can I do to change the situation? But if your answer is, yes, my thought is irrational because I have not found enough evidence that he doesn't love me, or I have not found enough evidence that I'm incompetent. I may be not competent in certain things, but I'm competent in certain other things. So I am making the thinking error of magnification probably, or I'm just jumping to conclusions. So your first step was to identify the thought. The second step was being the lawyer and identifying whether your thought was rational or irrational, and what kind of thinking error were you making. Once you identify the thinking error, the third step is asking yourself that what would I tell a friend in this situation? A lot of times what happens is we are overcritical of our own selves. We judge ourselves very harshly. We put ourselves into, we put other people on a pedestal and we put ourselves down. So for example, I messed up my presentation and I say I am stupid. But if my friend messes up my presentation, I may say ki it's okay. It's sometimes it happens. Maybe you can be better prepared the next time, or maybe it wasn't your fault. People were being, bad. People were being bad audience or whatever. So ask yourself that if I'm making a thinking error, what is it that the thinking error that I'm making? Is there any advantage or disadvantage of thinking like this? So if I'm catastrophizing that I am definitely going to screw this up, what is the advantage or disadvantage of thinking like that? Secondly, what would I tell a friend in this situation? So for example, I fear going into a particular situation because I fear failing, I fear embarrassment, I fear being judged by others. So basically the point is that I feel I am not good enough, or I am not competent enough, or I am not worth it. So I ask myself, what are the advantages or disadvantages of this kind of a thinking? And what would I tell a friend in this situation? Would I tell a friend to continue thinking like this? Or would I tell them that they need to be thinking in an alternative or a rational way? Right? And then applying that same logic to your own self. So for example, let's take an example that my thought is that I am given a project to do, and my thought is that shit, I'm going to screw this up. I feel very anxious about it, I don't want to start it, or I'm not able to concentrate in the project. Once I identify that I'm making a thinking error of catastrophization, and there is no advantage of doing this, right? Can I think more rationally by telling myself that I don't know if I'm going to screw up, I have no evidence to support that. But what I can do right now is focus on the here and now, focus on the work that I'm doing, and let's see how it goes. Similarly, a thought comes that I called a friend who didn't pick up, and my thought is that she doesn't care about me. Why couldn't she pick up my call? Or I must have done something wrong and she's upset with me. At that time, can I find evidence for and against? So the evidence for is that at times she doesn't pick up the phone, but the evidence against is that she usually calls back, and she's mostly there when I need her. So can an alternate thought be that she must be busy, I'm sure she'll call back. It's not that she hates me. She took me out for lunch last week. So she doesn't hate me. So what we are doing is, we are taking the thought, we are challenging it in a rational manner, and we are trying to find an alternative or a more rational way of looking in the situation. Right? So this is about challenging your thoughts. But slightly, I'm going to do a little bit of rewind, right? This is when we are having the thought, that I identify a thought, I find evidence for and against, I identify the kind of thinking error that I am making, and then I ask myself, what would I tell a friend in this situation, and what is a more rational way of thinking. But before that, if I can develop a habit of thinking in a more positive manner. Remember, we talked about breathing retraining and mindfulness meditation. That's one way of calming down your anxieties in general. So similarly, if I can cultivate a habit of thinking positively, then one, I will anyway get less anxious because my thoughts are positive, so therefore my mood also would be positive. And second, I will have more training to convert my negative thought into a more positive thought when the need be. So how do we make sure that we cultivate the habit of positive thinking? First and the foremost thing, which a lot of us don't realize, is that a healthy lifestyle is very important. Remember the last time you didn't sleep well for a night or two, how cranky you were, how irritable, and how on everything you would snap and you would feel that the other person is not being nice to you. Or the last time you didn't eat your food and you were like hangry because you were hungry and you didn't know you were hungry and you were angry. Or you were very, very physically tired, and the moment you came home and mom said, why have you come late? And you're like, why are you always asking me questions? Right? So take care of your physical health. Sleeping on time, Eating on time, exercising, meditation are some of the essential things all of us need to do to stay positive. Second is, there is no black and white. We all have gray areas. What happens is, especially when we are anxious, especially when we have low confidence, we forget to look at our strengths. So please remember your strengths. Please remember the obstacles that you actually overcame. Appreciate them. Acknowledge yourself that you can do things. Third very important thing is practicing gratitude. What makes us anxious? What if I lose this tomorrow? What if it doesn't work out tomorrow? What if people don't like me? But what happens is that we forget what we really have. We may not have 100 friends, but we may have 1 or 2 great friends. We have a house, we have an internet connection, we have food to eat. There are so many things one can be grateful about in life that makes us think in a more positive direction. Try and be with more positive people. I know it might sound a bit mean, but the more you are with negative people, the more negative your thinking becomes, because you are cribbing, they're cribbing, and the cycle goes on. But if you are thinking, if you're with positive people, sometimes they can boost you up, sometimes you can boost them up. So be with positive people, right? Last and the most important thing, practice. Practice the positive thinking like a mantra. Self-talk is a very, very powerful tool, right? I tell myself constantly, I am a fool, I am crazy, I am stupid, and I start believing it. It becomes a part of my belief systems, and then it affects every sphere of my life. But if I tell myself, do it, I can do it, I am capable of doing this, okay, let me give it a try. I hope all of you might have watched the movie 3 Idiots. Remember the Amir Khan's mantra, all is well. Actually, it helps. Like before going into that meeting, before going into that interview, take 5 minutes for yourself. Take a deep breath. Sit comfortably and just tell yourself all is well. Tell yourself I can do it. Make a list of positive statements that resonates with you and keep them with you to read whenever you are, whenever you're feeling a bit low, whenever you're feeling a bit anxious. Repeat them in your head like a mantra. Make it like a broken record till your mind actually starts believing it. Right? So let me just summarize the session. We talked about how thoughts influence our behaviors and emotions. As anxiety makes us think in a dysfunctional manner, or we end up making a lot of thinking errors, like overestimating the risk of negative events happening, catastrophization, personalization, overgeneralization, jumping to conclusions, shoulds and musts. So the first step in changing these thoughts is identifying the kind of thinking error that I am making, the kind of thoughts that I am having, asking myself that whether I'm thinking rationally or not, and if I'm not, what kind of thinking error am I making? Am I taking all facts into consideration, or I am thinking like this because of my mood? Once I identify the thinking error that I am making, then I challenge it by asking myself, what would I tell a friend in a similar situation? Or actually, you can even ask yourself, what would I tell a child in a given situation? Would I tell that child to continue worrying? Would I tell the child to think so bad about themselves? And then how can I apply that same logic to my own life, to my own thoughts, and finding an alternate or a rational thought? Apart from that, it's very important to cultivate the habit of thinking positively by staying healthy, taking care of your physical health, recognizing and accepting your strengths, being around positive people, and practicing gratitude. And last and the most important thing, Practice, practice, practice the mantra of positive thinking. Very, very important. So guys, this is from my side. Now we are open for Q&As. Any questions that you have, I would be very glad to take them. And also please remember that challenging your negative thinking is not an easy thing to do. It's a skill that takes time. But once you're able to learn it, it really, really helps. I can see a question. Ma'am, can you please make a post about the list of thinking errors and the techniques to cope with them? Yes, we'll definitely do that. I'll make a list of the thinking errors with some specific examples and the techniques to deal with the same. I'll put them on the I'll speak to the Visa people and either put it on Instagram or on their blog, and we'll inform you accordingly. Do we have any other questions that I can help with? I remember somebody asked about fear. I'll just sorry, not able to find the question, but I believe somebody asked about how I can tackle fear. It's ultimately the same thing. The fear is coming from the thoughts about that I will not be able to deal with this situation or I will fail. So the same techniques of basically challenging those assumptions and thoughts will work here also. I can see another question. Somebody has asked how to deal with overthinking. Okay, see, overthinking is basically when we need to identify what kind of overthinking am I doing. Most of the time, overthinking is about either I'm catastrophizing or I'm generalizing the thing that if this happens, then this will happen, then that will happen, what if that happens? So it's kind of that I'm overestimating the risk of a negative event happening, I'm predicting a negative event will happen, or I'm constantly criticizing myself or something that I have done. Ask yourself to, the moment you realize that you're overthinking, some practical tips I'll give you. I usually ask my clients to physically get up from that place. Please observe, when you're overthinking, you would just be sitting in one place and you would lose the sense of time. So get up from that place. Do some physical movement. Go splash your face with water. Take a breath and ask yourself, what is it that I'm overthinking? What does it mean to me? And I need to stop doing it. If I'm making any kind of thinking error that I can identify, we deal with it the way I have talked about the technique today. If I'm thinking rationally, yes, there are problems ahead and there are challenges ahead, so I'm thinking rationally. But what can I do about it? Rather than just thinking about it and overthinking about it, what can I do about it? Another question is, what's the difference between generally feeling anxious and actual stress and anxiety? I'm not very sure there's a difference between that. There are some people who are in general a bit more anxious than others. It can be a part of their personality where they have this tendency to get anxious over little things, and they are more vulnerable to develop actual anxiety and stress. But apart from that, anybody in a particular situation can feel the true anxiety or actual stress can be felt by anybody. And in case you were asking about the disorder, then anxiety disorders are specific groups that we as mental health professionals diagnose in people where the anxiety is so significant that it has started affecting their personal, social and occupational life, and it is there continuously for a long period of time. So this is what we do when we are talking about anxiety disorders. I see another question, how to deal with lack of confidence. So when I say lack of confidence, I need to ask myself, what is it? So for example, I approach a situation and I'm like, mere se nahi hoga, I will not be able to do it. So ask yourself, what is the evidence that I will not be able to do this? Or what is the evidence that I will be able to do this? Go back to your life and maybe think of a situation which may be a very small situation where you think you thought you would not be able to achieve, but you actually did. Or go back to the situations which were stressful but which you actually were able to overcome. And remind yourself that if I could do that, I can do this now also. What is the worst possible thing that will happen? I'll fail, or I will not do well. But I need to give it a try. How will I learn if I don't give it a try? I'll take 2 more questions. I see a question: how to forgive ourselves for sins, as religion comes in the way and we keep thinking we are a bad person for making a sin or harming someone else. Well, again, the same logic. Have I actually harmed somebody else, or is it just a thought that I'm having? Sometimes some people with high anxiety may have these kind of intrusive thoughts about being sinful or about harming others. They actually may not be doing anything sinful, or they may not be actually harming others, but it's like an intrusive thought. It's coming again and again, which you know or which you understand is irrational, but you are unable to get rid of it. This could be part of what we call an obsessive compulsive disorder. This would not be a forum to go into the detail of that, but if you feel something like that is happening to you, it would be best to consult a mental health professional, or maybe talk to a Vaisa therapist for that matter, who would help you understand the difference between your thoughts and actually being sinful or harming somebody, and how you can take care of these kind of thoughts. One last question before we close: how to deal with people you don't like but can't ignore them? A key question. Sometimes you have to deal with people you don't like, but so there is no thinking error about it. Maybe you don't like them for whatever reasons, but if you need to deal with them, you need to deal with them. I say that there are some things you don't want to do, or something which is not very pleasurable to do, but it's the requirement, maybe because of work reasons or personal reasons or family reasons. So I need to do it. I don't have to attach an emotion to it. I don't have to it's more like that I kind of tell myself that this is something I need to do. I don't need to feel anything about it, right? So what we'll do is we'll stop here today. Tomorrow we tune in again at the same time, 9:30 p.m. India time, with more questions, with more techniques. Tomorrow I plan to talk about panic attacks or anxiety attacks, because a lot of people have raised a question on those, on how to deal with panic attacks. So we'll be talking about that. Do not forget to download the Vaisa app for more tools and free toolkits for dealing with anxiety.